ain't here. Okay, so today is our last Zoom meeting in May, and I'm going to tell you that next week we will not have a regularly scheduled Zoom meeting. So we won't meet this time. We're going to do something else, and I want to talk about that right now so that we're clear. Um, Besides posting the video, what I'll also do is I'll send an email to everyone too, so everyone knows. But I want to set up an individual Zoom time with all of you. Now, I know you understand that this is not a mandatory thing, so if you don't want to meet with me, that's okay. But there are still some things that have to get done for our final essay. I know you're thrilled about this. The juniors are finishing their last book and doing their last discussion. They only had 3 essays total. Remember, this is 1530, 1540. They only had one class, and their last JCC essay was a month ago. So they're nearly finished. My 8th graders will actually go as long as you guys do, but you guys will be the longest class. And it's not because I have new stuff for you. It's because I want you to have time to finish your essay. So next week's Zoom, which would be, let me look again at the date on that, the 5th? 4th, excuse me. So on the 4th, instead of meeting, anytime next week is fine. So I heard from Braden, and Braden said, for instance, that he can meet on Sunday nights, and whatever he's got going on, you all do. You all have stuff going on. So whatever you have going on is fine. So as of right now, I don't have any events happening that would goof up my ability to meet with you at any time. A couple exceptions. For instance, Fridays, I drive for the district for food delivery. So tomorrow, much of my day is taken up with that. Next Friday, much of my day will be taken up with that. So Fridays are generally not a great day for me. Other than that, so like for instance, my kids here don't really have much in the way of Zoom meetings left. My wife's school's over, so we're not going on any vacation. So there shouldn't be any problems based on your schedule. Now I know that most of you don't like getting up early. That's fine. But if you, for instance, like to get up early, and of course I'm not just saying this for the people here, I'm also for the people I'm recording this for. If you like to get up early, we could do like early school time, like 8 o'clock, even as early as like 7 o'clock, um, to talk about your writing. If you know you're going to have other stuff to do. So what we would talk about, here's why we're going to meet. We're going to meet because, hello, Mrs. Schnars. We're going to meet. She was in the back, I saw her. We're going to meet because I want to talk to you about where your paper is right now from 7.2, and then what we have to do for 7.3, because we have to finish the essay. Some of you, and you know who you are, some of you are in outstanding position, gave me 13 plus pages, and so everything's going really well. For others, there is more due, whether it's going to be transitions have to get fixed, or you need more sources, or you need whatever. There's other things to do. So uh, my Zoom meeting with you individually could be a simple 5-minute affair. Could be just checking, logging in. By the way, I'm going to record all of them just because that's what we do. I'll log in and say, hi, Kylie Odell, because she's top left on my screen. Hi, Kylie, how you doing? Great. What do you have? You'll talk about what you have, maybe even show it to me, like share your screen. And then that's it. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to meet more than once, you absolutely can meet with me more than once. Let's say we meet Monday. And Jaden, I can hear some feedback on your mic, so you don't have to mute it, but just want to give you a heads up there. We talk once and go through whatever, and then you want to meet again later in the week because you want to write some and then go from there. That's fine. I'm responsive to email, which you know. So whatever you need, I want to help. So let's keep that in mind. Again, we'll be talking about between your essay 7.2 and the final draft, which is 7.3, which is still due on June 12th. By the way, if you got done tomorrow, if you were finished with that essay, you can submit that right away. You don't have to wait till June 12th. I'm leaving that to you. A lot of you are close to done. So I'm not going to put in a sign-up thing right now. I'll put that in Google Classroom, so I don't need you to tell me what day you want to right now. But does anyone have any questions about that Zoom meeting being when we talk that way? Does anybody have any questions for that? And somebody with a question mark is joining. I don't know who that is, but so no questions about meeting individually regarding your stuff. I have no idea what that question mark one is there. So I'm thinking that we are going to bounce them. I don't know who they were, but they're gone. So anyway, so that's the end of that. All right, so we'll talk about that coming up. Now, the Zoom meeting the week after, so technically the paper's due on the 12th. We would meet on the 11th. Now, of course, I don't know. I guess Lila's leaving next week and stuff. So I don't know because we don't have any new stuff to talk about. I don't mind meeting the regularly scheduled time. As of right now, I'm planning to meet this time on the 11th. If you're here, awesome. It's a time to ask questions about stuff. All that's fantastic. But so I'm not canceling that meeting. But of course, I understand if your stuff's in and done. I don't know what sort of graduation stuff you might have going on. I don't know what work you might have. So play that by ear. But I am planning in 2 weeks to meet again for truly our last Zoom meeting of the year. That's going to be on Thursday, the 11th. So some general things. I gave you guys a link a week or so ago for JCC to do your course evaluation. Please do that if you have not already. That's important. I do get the comments. Generally, I have no idea who said what, but it's good to see. As I've told you before, I do make changes to stuff based on what students have to say. So please make sure you do that eval. When it comes to next year's stuff, I decided for next year's seniors, that's not you, that's the juniors. Next year's seniors, we're going to start with a novel. We're going to start with a book, The Road, which is like post-apocalyptic. We're going to start with that in the fall, and then I'll do another novel after that, and then we'll get into the Odyssey and the Inferno stuff. We'll get into that in the spring. We're not going to do anything like that until 1540. So, and part of that's from you guys, because we talked about how it's really hard to manage having essay stuff due on a regular basis and then have also a large historical work like the Inferno or whatever. So I took your feedback for that, so that's important. Okay, so very quickly, some things. Now let's talk, and this is my final thing to discuss, but we have 15 minutes left, and I'm happy to talk to you after that. We're going to talk about the last paper, the last draft, 7.3. This is what's going to be due on the 12th. So what you need to make sure that you have, let's recap. You've already read, you've given me, this most recent 7.2, you gave me the stuff from before. You've read a biography or autobiography, so that's done. You have read 3 books by your author. Now, a few of you have, some, I think Jaden's got Dr. Seuss, so there's some other versions of what you have to do, but essentially 3 books that you've read by your author. So you've done that. By now, and maybe you want to add another book. In fact, I'll mention this for not just for Jaden, but for anybody else. Some of you might want to add, if you're short on stuff, you might want to add another book. That's much easier for Jaden, who's got, short books and stuff. But, and I think Graham could do that because he's got short stories as well. Anyway, so you shouldn't need any more content from your author, but now's the time where we have to add one more piece, and we have a couple weeks to do it, and you should have enough time. Using either Panama's database or using the JCC database, which they assure me is still open. I bet none of you have logged into JCC's library in a very long time, which is fine. So using those 2 databases, or I have access to a 3rd database if you guys get stuck. Using those databases, you now need to find critical sources about your authors. I want to explain what that means, because when a movie comes out, think of all the Harry Potter movies because of Nat Angeletti. Think of all the Harry Potter movies. Movie critics review those things, and they'll tell you what's good, what's not good, and all those type of things, which is fine. Criticism on your author is not the same thing. It's not somebody judging whether it's good or bad. It's not one of those things. Literary criticism, which is what I need for all of you, is where people are going to, and sometimes they're professors, sometimes they're authors, there's a lot of different people. Literary criticism is when scholars are going to evaluate your work. So for instance, using Harry Potter, as I've seen, and I can do this for a few of you in the class too, because I know you're authors. When you start talking about Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling, the author, there's a lot of scholarship, and I think Nat's already found it. I think her biography actually is going to solve a lot of her problems. And Nat, you can nod if you, I think that's what we discussed before, right? So your biography covers all of these things about how her life is reflected in her work and things that connected to her family and to her upbringing and all those type of things. Um, I don't know if Nat's going to get into this, but with the most recent stuff that she's written, and I can't remember all of it, but I guess she's coming up with some other things too. For instance, when J.K. Rowling admitted, and this is now maybe 5, 10 years ago, that Dumbledore was gay. If you remember that thing, you might have been too young for this, but the book's over, the series is over, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, well, Dumbledore was gay. And everybody's minds exploded. Everybody's heads blew up. They're like, what? What do you mean? What's happening? Because the movies don't show that. The books don't really show it very well. But when she said that, then people went back and took a look at it. And then people said, why would she not have made that clear before? And so people were writing articles about that choice. Why did she make Dumbledore gay? What's the reason? People went looking for clues in the writing about that. So those are examples of, and I think her biography, that might not be in her biography because that's more recent. That's an example. Natalie doesn't have to talk about that at all. But that's a sort of thing where you say, where did these things come from? So using Garrett's as an example, Garrett's got C.S. Lewis, and he's going to be talking about, the unquestionable Christian connections between his work and his life. Obviously, there's a ton of those things. But as Garrett knows, and I think he's even had in his paper, there's a change. At one point, he was writing stuff anyway, but then he made the conscious decision to dive into Christian writing and Christian work. So and people have spent time talking about that and looking for clues in his life. What made him change? What made him do that? So you would be looking for articles maybe that would address those sort of things. All of your authors should have something to go through it. I know Kylie Odell's will. I believe Kylie Schnarr's will. Finn, you'll have a ton of stuff. You're Camus, aren't you, Finn, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
So Camus is such a weird dude, which I think by now you've probably figured that out. And didn't he die in a car crash?
Yeah, he died in a car crash.
So he dies like in a car crash, and supposedly, and I don't know if this is an urban legend or not, but supposedly he's lying there on the side of the road because back then there's like no safety equipment in the vehicles he was driving around. He's like, I think he was driving a convertible at like 1 billion miles an hour and hit a tree. So anyway, so he's on the side of the road dying, and supposedly the urban legend is in his dying throes. He's expiring. Basically he was telling people, man, I was really dumb. Everything I thought was wrong, and then he dies. So it's like,
yeah, that is exactly what the internet or whatever said, and I was like, what?
So it's like, yeah. So it's like I did all the stuff, and then it's all crap, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, he talks about all this stuff, writes all these freaking books on it, and then when he's dying, he's like, never mind.
Yeah, no, yeah. So my bad. That's what he says. Awesome. So for instance, so then an example, and Finn, this is, I'm not telling you to do this, but there has been discussion about where are the clues in his life that he decided to renounce all of his beliefs. I mean, it's almost like, being Christian and going to church for your whole life, and then as you're dying saying, I don't believe in God, which obviously is rare if it ever happens. So there's people that have done research on that and said, what are the clues that Camus did this, before that? And of course, Jaden, there's all sorts of things with Dr. Seuss, whether you want to talk about, I think Jaden, are you still splitting up into 3 ways? You've got like the teaching stuff, the moral stuff, and the historical stuff, Jaden, or did you not do that?
Well, I did that. I just used like different themes or whatever, but I still split it up into like 3.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So then, same deal. So what made him? Because I don't know the answer to that. Like, what? I know he had friends that were educated, but why did he decide to write Cat in the Hat and focus on these words? You know what I mean? So there's all sorts of stuff. My suggestion is when you go to the databases, here's the start. Maybe this is something we can talk about later. You go to the database, you put your author's name in, and you put it in quotes. So J.K. Rowling, you got to spell it right. J.K. Rowling in quotes. Albert Camus in quotes. I don't know if it's going to be Theodore Geisel or Dr. Seuss in quotes, and you may have to play with that. But Jane Austen, whatever, you're going to put that in quotes, and then space plus space. So you're looking at the author and something. And this is where it's going to be different for everybody. For some of you, you can type in just criticism. and you'll get stuff. I mean, that actually happens. For others, you may want to talk about the themes. So not to put Garrett on the spot again, I know I've asked a bunch of you guys, but Garrett, I don't know when you're talking about your stuff, are you focusing on themes for C.S. Lewis, Garrett, or are you focusing on like, what could you maybe look for if you're looking for stuff with criticism?
I would, well, looking back at his history, he was an atheist for the longest, for his early years until he went for war and everything. So I think critics could go at him and say, this guy used to be an atheist. Why should we believe what he's writing about and all that stuff? So I think that's probably the direction that I would go. But
I think that's really, there's a couple things you said that are really important, and I don't know, all of you that are here, I'm asking you this is kind of the whole point. I'm asking you to become an expert on this author. So I don't know that much. I know who C.S. Lewis is, but for instance, and perhaps you know the answer, like Hemingway went to war and saw terrible stuff and wrote about the terrible things he saw. Hemingway, he's easy because he talked about that. I don't know if C.S. Lewis did that, but if C.S. Lewis went to war and witnessed the death of people close to him, and perhaps like in their last words, they talked to him, and whatever they said changed his thoughts and his perspective on things. So that may be what it is, because obviously going from an atheist, who does not believe in any God, not agnostic. Agnostic people believe in God, but not like a religion. So they'll say, I believe in God, but not that God. Atheist, no God. To being a very Christian person writing about Jesus regularly and Jesus's struggles, that's night and day. That's a
right. Well, I mean, he did lose a friend that was close to him in war, but I think that the big thing is that he became friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings person, and they were like, and Tolkien was a Christian as well, so he started to hang out with him and everything, and then he started to he hung himself, he put himself in the position to become a Christian because he was hanging out with the right people. When he was an atheist, he was not with the right people, and he got with the right people and became a Christian and started to write about it. So.
Now, I don't know. I can't tell you that there's any information on this, but because Tolkien's a weird dude. I mean, Tolkien in real life was a peculiar guy. Obviously, an amazing author, but kind of an odd dude. So you could even see this, and I'm not suggesting you look for this because I didn't look myself, so I don't want you to spend like hours looking for something that doesn't exist. But why did he start hanging out with Tolkien? Like, what makes people in life, like your guys' lives, what makes you hang out with the right people? Is it upbringing? It could be. Is it his time in war? Could be. Like thinking of Odell. I have a hard time thinking Kylie Odell is going to college and going to start lighting things on fire, burning couches, and then, I don't know, stabbing people. I just don't see that happening. Kylie, no. She's rolling. Okay, well, if Kylie does, then we'll have this video to go back on. She said, maybe I haven't thought about that before. I'm assuming, Kylie, you won't. So my point is, I know all of you because I taught you for a long time. You are in those positions already. Panama, it's easy. You've been around Panama people, your parents, your teachers, whatever, but we don't know that about C.S. Lewis. So I'm not telling Garrett what to do, but that could be something to look for. Like, what made that switch flip? And criticism is the sort of thing that would dive into that and look for those things. So if we were in class, I haven't said that much in this for the seniors. I've said this for the juniors and eighth graders. If we were in class, we would probably we might have done this already, probably spend about a week in class doing this nonstop. So for instance, you'd be in my class, we'd be on iPads or whatever, and we'd be doing this live, and I'd be sitting there with you kind of holding your hand to do this. I assure you, I hope and I expect, to be honest, that all of you are going to be successful college students. You're going to go to college. It doesn't matter where you go, and you're going to be good at learning stuff. This is the sort of thing you'll need to do to be able to navigate a library. So all the things we do, this is one of the biggest, and I know it's the end of the school year, but this is one of the biggest for you to be able to find your own stuff on your own. And so that's what I want to help you with. So we have only about 5 minutes left in the original time, but as I said before, I'll repeat, I'm I'm happy to be with you as often as you need it. We can communicate by email. I don't have any problems with that. A few of you have access to me, whether you follow me on Twitter or whatever, parents on Facebook, whatever the deal is. You have ways to access me if you have questions. Please do. So I want to help you if I can. But I would say, like, today, tomorrow, take some time. Please don't wait till the last minute, because that's when it gets super frustrating. If you wait till next Thursday, if you wait till the 11th or whatever, I find you're going to be very frustrated, and you might not find things. Again, as I said, I think Nat Angeletti's in very good shape because of a book she found like in October, November. But not everyone's in Nat's position. And so that's why I really recommend to start looking as soon as you can. Again, your author's name in quotes, space plus space. If you can't access your JCC, you can't log in, first I'll probably virtually slap you, because you should be able to log yourself in by now. But there's other things I can suggest. And don't forget, I have that third database to check too, where I have access to things. I think I've even given some of you guys PDF stuff that I've gotten elsewhere. So we can find that material as well. So I don't think there's anything big that's happened in Panama I need to know about. I don't know a lot or much about graduation stuff. I know that the 17th is the school's last day. I know you know that other schools have different last days. It's just what it is. There also, some colleges are deliberately making a plan to be back in school in August. That's all you guys, colleges. And some are not. Some are saying that they are not going to be back in school. All of California state universities are saying they will be online only in the fall. And a lot of other colleges, probably most of yours, haven't decided yet. So naturally, I hope we get back to normal. I hope you all get back to like what would be a regular college life. I'm sure you're all going to be fine, but I know this has been yucky. In case I don't see you again, like in a class setting with multiple here, I have enjoyed having you guys in class. There's only 2 classes ever that I'll have at Panama that I will have taught for 4 years, and you're the first, and next year is the second. I had you in middle school 7 and 8. I had you guys in 10th, and then I have you as seniors. So you guys do matter. You guys are important to me. I hope you're successful. So please get in contact with me whenever you have the ability to meet with me. You know your work schedules. If it has to change, you're not locked in. It's okay. I know stuff happens. But I do want to meet with you, and I do want to help. So with that, I'm finished for the day. I did record the meeting. I'll post this later on today for the people that are absent. The criticism part is important, because, to repeat, our final essay, I think in the original was going to be 16 pages. We're going to make it 15. So most of you only need like a page and a half. We're shortening it to 15 pages. That's a nice kind of round number, and that makes sense in my head, perhaps not yours. But so 15 pages is all you need. You need like a page more, and I know you have the time to do that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely, wonderful, rainy day, and get outside as much as you can. I think this weekend is supposed to be nice, albeit cooler. So, and nice job, Angeletti, running. You should run past Odell's house, because it's not exactly around the corner. Run past her house and, I don't know, ring the doorbell, run away.
I did the other day.
Did you? Did you like stop and ring the doorbell, or just run past her house?
No, I just ran by.
Did you go back down the dirt road in the back way that way?
So there's like a 5-mile loop.
Yeah.
But do you know where Barker Road is?
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
It's like by Finn, so you just go around, and I end up cutting through the farm.
Can you cross, and I know this is not like major trespassing, but can you, because I know where your road is, and your road used to cross the train tracks like 100 years ago, or whatever it was, it used to cross the train tracks. Can you skip across there and come that back way? Was it the back of Swede? Is that what that is on the other side there? Okay, are you able to cross the tracks there and make that loop, or you can't go across? I don't know how blocked it is.
I mean, I don't know. It's all like woods. I don't think so.
Okay, very good. Because there used to be
we have trails that go back to the tracks, but I don't know if I could go from the tracks to anywhere.
Okay, all right. Because
I probably could, but
yeah, there used to be like, because that's where the lines used to split. And there used to be like,
Mhm.
houses and stuff over there. It used to be really full. So, okay. I wondered about that because I went past there the other day. Did I tell you guys the story about the guy dumping his poop on the side of the road? I didn't tell you that. It's
No.
right by your NIO people. It's right by your house. It's a true story. And I was with Schneider. So I'm driving around with Schneider, and we pass Finn's, and we turn up Barker, which is right there. And we went past what's her name, Vistran's house and all that stuff. So right past Vistran's house, on the other side of the road, going the wrong way, was a guy in kind of a busted up pickup truck towing a trailer, towing a travel trailer, like a camper. It was a nice camper too. It wasn't like old and janky. It was really nice. And he's driving it, and Schneider's driving. I let Schneider drive, so we do that. And I'm in the passenger seat. I'm like, what's he doing? And we look, and he was dumping his poop, his waste, on the side of the road. So he was driving. He uncapped it and was just driving, and all that junk, and you know what it is, all that stuff was just pouring out on the side of the road into the gutter right there, into the ditch as he's driving, which is illegal about a million different ways. Also disgusting and awful for people. I mean, there's no good about that. And that's what the guy was doing. So we did what we're doing. We're driving around. Actually, we took the left, went up behind the Odell farm, and then we came back the same way. So we went up Swede, and that guy in his trailer had backed into like a camp under construction on Swede. He didn't know whose it is, and I don't know whose it is, but and it was right there. And then I drove past it the other day. It was still there. So whoever that jerk is right over there. He was dumping his human waste on the side of the road. That's disgusting, and it looked awful. I mean, it really did look terrible. So, just so you know, if you're on Barker, if you're at Finn's and you're taking a right, stay on the right-hand side of the road, whether you do or not, because there is human excrement all along that left-hand side there in the ditch. It's nasty. So, and Schneider and I were going to like get license plates and blow them in, but I didn't feel like doing that. It's like when Schneider and I were going to go up with my van and drive into the guy that was up in the back parking lot that was up there hiding up there, like, let's go get him. And so we didn't. He like ran away, so we couldn't do that. So, but that's my story about human poop. So anyway, don't stay on the left side of the road. It was terrible. We couldn't believe it. I've never seen that. So I hope you guys have a great week. I'm glad you enjoyed my poop story, and have fun. Finn, Todd, Garrett, Kylie, Sally, Kylie, and Nat, have a lovely week. See you all very soon. And
Goodbye.
the Steelers are better than the Bills. Oh, he left. I couldn't get him. All right.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.